Happy Tuesday on January 12th, 2021. Big mess in here right now, and that's because I did finish the tumbler quilt, and this past Saturday, we had a sort of parking lot, masked, socially distanced meetup at the community parking lot of the community center where Linus normally meets, or met until February of last year. It has been almost a year since we've met, and they've done one of these drop-offs in the past year. The rest of the time, folks have either been hanging on to their quilts and blankets, or they've been, we have one lady that actually volunteers at the hospital, at UNM Hospital, and she's our liaison there, so she has been taking her blankets directly there, any that are the right kind, and getting them from other folks. So I have been dropping mine off at Hip Stitch, my favorite local quilt store, because all of the quilt stores except one in the area are drop-offs, including Joann's Fabrics. So in addition to that, so I did drop off the quilt then, and I did take some photos outside. I have given up trying to film in the backyard because dogs. So the next time I actually try to film outside, it will have to be in the front, and I'll have to rig something up there. My guess is I'll just continue doing what I'm doing, which is taking them out back to photograph, and then inserting it into footage like I have done this time. So I'm going to insert photos of that and a little bit of tour of the quilting. It was just a meander. I also received in the last week a bag, this bag full of fabric that was, we have a lady who stores all of our fabric donations. She goes through them all. And if it's yardage, she sets the yardage aside. If it's a lot of yardage, so it's good for batch, she puts those together. She puts panels together, you know, just has like, so that if somebody wants something, she can access it. She normally brings those to the meetings. We do normally store some fabric at the community center, but obviously we can't access the community center now, so she's storing it all right now. She had some stuff that was kind of like scraps, I guess. Some of it was bigger pieces. She divided it up into bags of, this fabric should be big enough to cut 8.5-inch squares. This fabric's big enough for 10.5-inch squares. Some of it was with the fabric, but it was too narrow, but it was wide enough for 2.5-inch strips. So she called out for volunteers to do the cutting, and I volunteered for the 8.5-inch squares. And took this entire bag, and I already had cut a bunch by Saturday, so I took those and found a taker for what I had cut so far, and then she'll bring back whatever she doesn't use. But so I sort of was making kits for myself out of fabric I already had, together with some of the fabric that was in the donation, if I felt it went with it. I was on a roll, and it felt really good to get this stuff cut up into usable chunks. I want to have some stuff I can just grab to play with. It's going to be easier to store all of this stuff. My goal is to get all of my Linus kits for myself and my backing fabric for Linus into a single bin. And I think I'm well on my way to that. Stuff that I was just going to take back when we meet again, or just take it back to Gina, who stores the fabric. This is all assorted 8.5-inch squares. There was a weird donation of like patriotic fabric. And so there's almost enough to do an entire, at least a toddler size, sort of red, blue, and tan with patriotic stars. In with that donation was this, which obviously did not go at all. I'm keeping this for myself. The rest is all going to go back to Linus. This fabric was in there as well. With the bear. So I'll cut that up into 8.5-inch squares. I'm going to have to figure out a way to put that together, and I need some more white, I think, red and white. After I cut as many 8.5-inch squares out of all of that scrap donation fabric as I could, I took what was too small for 8.5 and then cut 6.5-inch squares. So I have a whole big bag. This weighs like probably at least 1/2 to 3/4 of a pound. 6.5-inch squares. And then 5-inch charms. And that's where I'm stopping. That's what I'm up to, guys. I'm just cutting stuff up and putting myself in a good place to have some grab-and-go projects for Linus. And in the positivity and positive thinking toward being able to have a retreat before the end of this year at some point. That may not happen, and that's okay. But at least when it does happen, I'm going to have some grab-and-go kits ready to go. Or if I just feel like putting together a quick Linus quilt, over a 3-day weekend or something when it's a holiday, you know, I'm going to have some stuff ready to go that I can do that with, where I don't have to think too horribly much. You know, I think I have 1 or 2 videos left from last week to watch, and I'm sure there's already some in there, so I'm going to cut this off now. I'm just like blah, 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 ramble. So I need to get on with what's happening and my day. I look forward to watching your videos, and I'll see you next week. Bye!